morning, guys. Welcome back, adventurers and explorers. We are on lesson 6. We are doing animals of the tropical rainforest habitat today. Before we get started, though, I want to go over some vocabulary words that you will find throughout our lesson. The first word is canopy. Canopy. It's a top layer of the forest formed by branches and leaves at the tops of the trees. An example, the canopy of the forest shades the plants and animals below. Canopy. Our next word is colonies. Colonies is a group of the same kind of animal or plants living and growing together. Example, there were several ant colonies in his backyard. Colonies. You're going to see the word dense, which means it's thick. The example is the rainforest is very dense because of the many plants that grow and live close together there. Dense. The word humid, wet and damp, containing a high amount of water or water vapor. Humid. Example is the air is often sticky and humid on a hot summer day. And our last one is patterns. Is a repeated shape or a design. Example, it is fun to find patterns in artwork. Patterns. All right, so those are the words that you're going to see throughout our lesson today. Today, let me give a little bit of background information first before we get started. We're going to talk about the equator. And this is a globe, and I know you can't really see it that well, but there is a blue line that runs right here around the Earth. That is called the equator, okay? And it goes all the way around. You can't actually see it. It's an imaginary line that is there. But the land and water near that equator stay very warm year-round, okay? So if a temperate deciduous forest would be near the equator, would it have the same type of temperatures like all the seasons? No, it wouldn't, would it? Because it would stay warm all year round. It wouldn't have spring, summer, winter, and fall. You would just have a warm temperature. So let me share my next map with you. So let me do a share of my screen. Okay, let me open up here. Sorry guys, it takes just a little bit to get into the lesson. All right, so we are in the tropical rainforest habitat. So let me show you the map. All right, there's the map we're going to be looking at. And we're going to be looking at a different kind of forest today. We're going to be looking at a forest located near the equator where it stays warm and wet all year long. And if you notice, right here is where we're going to be focused at in South America. It is highlighted in yellow. All right, remember we live up here in North America, so we're down here in South America. And if I come over here and look at my globe, oh, I know you can't see it, but South America sits right on the equator, right on the equator. All right, guys? So this forest is called a tropical rainforest. This particular rainforest that Rattenborough will visit today is the Amazon rainforest, and it's located on the continent of South America. And it covers more than 1.4 billion acres in several different countries. So today I want you to listen carefully to learn about one example of a tropical forest, the Amazon rainforest. Hello there, Rattenborough reporting from a fascinating habitat, a habitat that is the greatest variety of plants and animals of any habitat on Earth. Welcome to the tropical rainforest. Tropical places are warm and wet. A rainforest is a thick forest of plants that stay year-round. So a tropical rainforest is a warm, wet, thick forest of plants that stay green year-round. There are tropical rainforests in many places around the world close to the equator, but the one we are visiting is called the Amazon rainforest. It is in South America, and it is the largest tropical rainforest on Earth. The Amazon rainforest is so dense that a rat like me could easily get lost. Remember, dense means thick. The plants in the tropical rainforest are thick because so many growing closely together. It's hot and very humid here. The temperature is always very warm and it rains heavily all year long. Because of the warm temperatures, the rain in the air feels wet or humid. My fur is feeling very wet and sticky, and it's a good thing that I brought my umbrella. There are between 80 and 240 inches of rainfall here every year. That makes this one of the wettest places you'll find on land. Temperate deciduous forests, which you learned about last time, have broadleaf trees that lose all of their leaves in the fall. The Amazon rainforest also has broadleaf trees, but the main difference is that most of the trees here stay green all year long. The evergreen trees in this tropical rainforest replace their leaves gradually throughout the year as the leaves age and fall, so that the trees always look green and never have bare branches like the trees in a temperate deciduous forest. Because the climate here is the same all year round, plants do not need to slow down for cold winter weather. And the animals that live here always have a good supply of food all year too. Take a look around. The trees in the rainforest are so tall that they grow as tall as 13-story buildings, or as tall as a very, very tall building or a skyscraper in a large city. And some grow much taller than that. I'm standing in a tree right now, and as you can see, the trees grow so thickly and so close together here that from above, you can only see a canopy of thick green leaves. You can't see the forest floor at all. Now, a canopy is something that blocks out the sunlight. In a tropical rainforest, the canopy is the highest layer of plants formed by the tallest tree leaves. Because the sun's light can't get through the canopy of leaves, everything under them is really dark. I've brought a flashlight to help me see down here. The plants in the Amazon rainforest have adapted to the climate in many ways. Because it's so dark in the rainforest underneath the canopy, most plants have large leaves so they can catch as much light as possible. And many of the plants have waxy leaves with ends that are tapered to help the water drip off, like the water running off my umbrella. Many types of vines grow in a rainforest. Vines are climbing plants that grow on trees or wind themselves around tree trunks. Many animals use the vines growing among the trees almost like sidewalks and ladders to cross from one tree to another. The rainforest floor is a very shady place, which means it's a good habitat for mosses and fungi to grow that don't need much sunlight. If you can believe it, there are even some plants that don't need any light at all to grow. They grow on the forest floor and get their energy from the rotting leaves instead of sunlight. Oh, I'm way up in a particular type of tree found in the Amazon rainforest called a kapok tree, so high that you won't be able to see me. The kapok tree is one of the tallest trees around. The kapok has a very long trunk, and its branches and leaves form a canopy over the plants and animals below, making it a good shelter for animals like birds, snakes, and monkeys. There are so many different kinds of animals that call the Amazon rainforest home. Many types of interesting and colorful birds, frogs, and insects, reptiles, and other animals live in the trees and other plants of the tropical rainforest. These huge toucans use their large beaks to cut fruit from branches and to eat lizards, as well as other birds. So here's the toucan, the blackbird here. Macaws, which are a kind of parrot, travel in groups and use their hooked beaks to break into hard nuts and fruits. Here are the macaws. They're the red parrots down here. And you don't want to get too close to that poison arrow frog, which has poisonous skin to protect it from its predators. And you see that up here on the top. I'm back in the kapok tree, one of the very tallest trees in the forest, to see what kind of animals call this habitat home. So what's a habitat again? Habitat provides food, water, and shelter. Good. Over there, I can see a squirrel monkey. The squirrel monkey is a very friendly little animal, and it shares lots of things in common with the squirrels that live in a temperate deciduous forest. The squirrel monkey is very small and has a very long, thin tail that uses it to help balance. It has strong legs that it uses to jump and run and claw, which help it climb up and down trees and vines. In fact, squirrel monkeys are so good at traveling by leaping and running along branches, they hardly ever touch the forest floor. The squirrel monkey is an omnivore. It eats insects, fruits, flowers, and spends most of its time during the day moving around the forest to find food. The squirrel monkey has excellent eyesight, which is useful for finding small insects, fruit, and berries growing among the leaves of the tropical rainforest trees. Squirrel monkeys live in large groups, making it harder for their predators, eagles, and snakes to get them. Now, this monkey is acting a little strange, and experience has told me that this kind of behavior usually means there's trouble on the way. Aha, yes, look who's coming, some kind of snake. Snakes also tend to eat rats. So I'm going to climb a bit higher and take a look from a distance. Wow, look at the size of this snake. It's a boa constrictor, one of many kinds of snakes that live in the Amazon rainforest. It's a pretty big snake. This one is about 13 feet long. Boas can have slightly different coloring and patterns on their skin. Remember, patterns are repeated shapes or designs, but they are well camouflaged in the trees, plants, and vines in the forest. This boa constrictor, like all snakes, is a carnivore. It eats other animals such as bats, which are its favorite food, rodents, yes, rats included, lizards, birds, and even small squirrel monkeys. The boa constrictor is mostly nocturnal, so it comes out to hunt when it's getting dark, like now. Snakes can eat animals that are much bigger than they are. This boa's jaws open very, very wide so that when it finds an animal to eat, even animals such as birds and squirrel monkeys, it will be able to swallow it whole. The boa constrictor is not the only carnivore in the rainforest. In fact, it will have to watch out that it doesn't become dinner for a hungry jaguar like this one. Jaguars look a lot like leopards. They have a tan fur with dark spots, but they are bigger than leopards with shorter tails and legs and bigger heads and paws. This jaguar is about 7 feet long and probably weighs about 200 pounds. Jaguars are very well adapted to living in the rainforest. They have very sensitive hearing and an excellent sense of smell. A jaguar can see very well during the day and at night. All these things make it easier for it to find, stalk, and catch its prey. Remember, stalk means to follow. Now, I can barely hear the jaguar moving through the forest. That's because its paws are covered with a very thick fur on the pads on its feet. Because they travel so quietly, jaguars don't have to run far to catch their prey. So instead of having long legs for running, they have short, strong legs that are good for pouncing on other animals from the ground, from trees, or even in the water. A jaguar spends most of the day resting and goes out to hunt at night. It's also very good at climbing trees, which means I should get out of here before it's able to sniff me out. I've moved to the bottom of the kapok tree now onto the forest floor because there's one last very interesting animal I want to show you. We'd better hurry. It's getting dark and I may have to use my flashlight to show you. These are leafcutter ants. These ants burrow underground and make nests in groups called colonies. Different ants in the colony have different responsibilities. There are worker ants, soldier ants, and their queen. The worker ants are traveling to the kapok tree nearby where they will use their sharp jaws to bite off pieces of the leaves to bring back to the nest. Did you know that ants can carry up to 10 times their own body weight? That's pretty amazing. The soldier ants are there to protect the worker ants on their way to and from the nest. These ants spend most of their lives working for food. Nature is amazing, isn't it? Well, it's really quite dark now, and my fur has been sticking to me since we got here. So I think it's time to leave this hot and humid Amazon rainforest. We've learned a lot about the exotic habitat, its climate, and the plants and animals that have their homes here. So now, from somewhere really different. Until next time. All right, so let me stop and exit here. All right, guys, what'd you think of that lesson? That was a cool lesson, wasn't it? So what is a tropical rainforest? Let's think about that. What is a tropical rainforest? We know it's around the equator, good, and it stays warm and wet all the time, and it's green too. Lots of greenery everywhere. So why is it so dark on the ground or the floor of the tropical rainforest? It's because the canopy stops the light from coming in. The top part of the leaves of the tall trees blocks most of the sunlight. So the bottom plants don't get a lot of light. So how have plants adapted to living in the tropical rainforest then? Well, if they don't get a lot of light, they have bigger leaves that they can use to get as much light as they can. Their roots grow toward the sunlight, and they collect water off of their leaves. If it rains, they collect the water that way. What food does a squirrel monkey eat in a tropical rainforest? It eats insects and flowers. So does that make a squirrel monkey a carnivore, a herbivore, or an omnivore? Makes it an omnivore. Where do you think this squirrel monkey might find shelter in the tropical rainforest? In the trees. Great. What food does a boa constrictor eat? It eats small animals. So does that make the boa constrictor a carnivore, a herbivore, or an omnivore? It makes it a carnivore. And where do you think the boa constrictor finds its shelter in the rainforest? Finds it in trees and under shrubs on the forest floor. What about a jaguar? What food does a jaguar eat? Well, it eats small animals also. So does that make it a carnivore, a herbivore, or an omnivore? It makes it a carnivore also. What adaptations do the squirrel monkey and the boa constrictor and jaguar and leafcutter ants have in order to live in a rainforest? Well, thinking about it, the squirrel monkey has strong back legs to run and jump and sharp claws to climb trees and a long tail to help balance it. A boa constrictor has jaws that can open so wide that it can eat all of its prey in one bite. The jaguar has sensitive hearing, an excellent sense of smell, and sense of smell and paws that are covered with thick fur so that it can quietly hunt its prey. And the leafcutter ants can carry up to 10 times their weight back to the colony. Great job, guys. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. Until next time, bye.